Welcome, boys and girls, to the introduction and basic information about a recent mod to Mount & Blade Bannerlord, which is called Bannerlord Online. So the background is that there isn't really a online cooperative multiplayer campaign in the vanilla game of Mount & Blade. Tailworld, who is developing it, said it was too complicated with considering the netcode, etc. Nothing I am particularly good at making a informed judgment about how hard that is, but apparently a group of modders decided to try this out, and about a year ago, which would be spring 2021, they launched a new mod called Bannerlord Online, which allowed for multiple people to join on a server and play together. Well, it's limited in its features and its scope. It's not the regular Mount & Blade Bannerlord experience. You can't do by far everything in the regular game. There's quite a few things you can do together. And if you have never played the vanilla before, or if you never played this mod before, I'm hoping this is the right video to watch, because it will give you a basic introduction to the game. When you create a new character, well, we could go through this, I suppose. You will come into the character creation screen, and you will pick a server: China, Russia, EU, NA. As far as I understand it, Russia and China are quite empty these days because no one wants to play there, so they're all playing on EU, which is the most heavily populated server in the game right now. There used to be numbers here, so you could see how many players were playing, and there used to be a couple of hundred players, say 300, 400, 500 players playing. And now no one knows except the developers. You can have up to 3 characters. Used to be able to only have 1, but then they decided you are allowed to have 2 alts, so you can have 3 characters, and then you just join the server. And if you're a new player, everyone will start at the same place, which is called Zeonica, which is the capital of the empire. It's where you have the most heavily frequented marketplace in town. We're not there, but it doesn't matter. But you will start in Zeonica. If you press the C button, or this button down here on the left, you can enter your character screen. And on the character screen, you have a bunch of different skills, and they are grouped into different categories, like intelligence, social. What's this one? Cunning. So every level you get a point, and you can add a point into each category, and each point allows you to increase your skill by 30 points in the mod. The max is 200, meaning you never need more than 7 points in one category. I know in the vanilla game, if you're familiar with that, you increase the speed, you gain skill by putting more points. That is not the case in the mod. So if you have 1 or 10 points, doesn't matter, it will not increase the pace at which you gain experience in that category. So never put more points into a category than you need. So I'll give you an example. Once you level up polearm, for example, to 30, you will need to put a second point into vigor, so you have 2 points, and then you can go up to 60 in skill, and then you'll put a third point, and 3 times 30 is 90, and once you're at 90, you'll put in a 4th point, etc. You will always have enough points to put into any category, I think. At least I have never ran into any trouble running out of free attribute points to put into a skill category to increase the skills. If you do, I suppose you just have to level up another weapon sort, like crossbows or throwing or bow or something, so you gain a couple of more points. How you gain attribute points is by leveling up. So it's a bit weird and different to other role-playing games, that the more skill points you have, the higher your level is. So your level is actually more a picture of how experienced your character is overall than an amount of experience you have put into your levels, because your experience you put into your skills, and that's how you level up. So if you want to level up one-handed weapons, you will have to use and fight, inflict damage and kill enemies with a one-handed weapon. They will increase that particular skill. This is a much better system than a level-based system, in my opinion. I like skill-based systems where you use a certain weapon category and then you will become more proficient on using that weapon category. Some of the skills have so-called perks. So this shield here, this gray number 1 in riding, indicates that I am able to unlock a perk under riding. Excuse me. And this particular perk tells me that my horse will take 20% less damage. Well, that's great. And what you do is you press the shield and then you press the box, the text box. That was a little bit hard for me to understand how you activate a perk. There you go, and it turns to yellow and it's now activated. Certain skills have medicine, for example, I know has dual perks, meaning that you can pick 1 out of 2, and I don't think you can ever go back and respec. So be very careful and deciding which perk you want before picking one of the 2 ones here. Now in the mod they have removed a lot of weapon, not to say all weapon perks, but they introduce riding ones where you get less damage, and here you lose less stamina in player versus player combat. There is no stamina drain for mounts and horses in player PvE versus NPCs, but if you play against other players, your horse will slowly, or not so slowly, drain stamina, but with these perks you lessen that drain. Smithing is not in the game. Scouting has a lot of different perks, but there's really nothing here to select, so I don't know how. Scouting allows you to see further on the map, on the campaign map. So this telescope here, view distance, says 18.1. If I increase my scouting, this number will go up and I will be able to detect enemies on the campaign map further out. It's a very useful skill. The only way to level this up currently in the game is to talk to the barkeep in the tavern, or to read books called Mabon's Notes, Diaries or Revelations, and do bandit hideouts, which and kill off like around a dozen bandits in a location nearby. And if you do that, you increase your scouting skill. And to be able to complete the more advanced types of hideouts, which gives better rewards and more experience, you will need to increase your preparation levels. So that's why you level up these or activate these perks, and you can bring in more soldiers. I think you start out with 3 soldiers, which makes it quite hard to manage even the most basic hideouts. But once you get more skilled as a bandit hunter and get more perks and more skills, you can bring in up to 6 soldiers into a hideout. This is one of the major PvE quests and features in the mod at all. This is basically what you do, except killing random bandits and looters on the map. Tactics has, there are some perks in tactics. Yeah, you get preparation level and you get another soldier to bring in. Okay, roguery is not in the game yet. Charm is not in the game. Leadership allows you to, the 2 perks are 5 and 10 extra fighters. And this is a bit complicated, so bear with me here now and rewind and listen to this again. Up to 100 leadership, you can have another extra soldier in your army for every 2 steps. So 100 steps, each 2 levels, skill levels, you get another soldier, so that's 50 soldiers, plus the basic of, I think, 10. Now, from 100 and upwards to 200, you only get 1 new soldier into your army for every 4 skill steps. So the speed of increase of your army is halved. And of course, every skill level, it will cost you more experience points from 0 to 200. So the last one takes a huge amount of more XP than the first level. So it takes a longer time the more you play, the longer it takes to grind up your new skills. Trade, 20 and 40 gives you another mule, which increases your pack or your inventory space. So this is one of the skills I recommend you start with leveling up. All you can do is basically trade very safely between Zeonica and Poros. Just buy from the merchant, the trader in the center of the town, and you make a little bit of money, but you increase your trade skill to 40. You buy your 3 mules, which is the maximum in the game, to move around with. You can own more, but then you can't leave town because your movement speed will basically go down to 0. But so that's a very sound. That's one of the first things you will do in the game after initiating the starter quest. You have medicine, which has quite a few perks. Restore more lost health. Okay, I can explain the fundamentals of medical care, these perks. Now it says medical aid to wounded warriors after the battle. Reduces the chance of death of warriors by 10%. Now, when you fight NPCs in combat, they can either die permanently or they can get wounded. If they get wounded, they will come back and become able to fight again, live another day, and it just takes a while. If they die, you have to recruit a new soldier. So what is the chance if a soldier get downed, put out of action in a combat? It's 70% that he's wounded, and it's 30% that he's dead permanently forever. Right. So this 10%, it reduces the chance of death, which is 30%, by 10%. Now 10% of 30%, that is 3%, right? So actually when you pick this perk, every time a soldier is downed, an NPC higher soldier in your army is down, it's 27% instead of 30% that is permanently dead. Now that's a 3% increase in troop training, leveling up, selling soldiers to other players, or the guard commander, which is the NPC in every city. So it's actually a money benefit, and it's a time investment benefit. I think it's a lot better than, I don't even remember what paramedic is. After winning a battle, one wounded unit is immediately restored if the hero is not wounded. Well, you are basically always wounded. I don't even understand this perk. It seems super crappy to me. And also, your soldiers will automatically heal, and it will give you medicine experience. I mean, you could basically log out and log in another character and play with if your army or your hero is very wounded. So I just wanted to explain how medical care works, because the wording, you might think that there's a 30% that a warrior dies if he gets downed. So now it's 20% because it reduces the chance by 10%, but no, it reduces the chance of death by 10%. And there's a second one that reduces it another 10% further, meaning lessening it from 27 to 24%. Another 10% out of the 30% that a soldier dies. And the last one is just you restore 50% of your lost health in a round. I think that's in 2 waves of combat. You fight one wave of enemies, you regain some health between the 2 waves, and now you regain more and even more with self-healing. Basically, you can stay in action and fight combat after combat, take a bit of damage, and then come back into the next wave and attack a new NPC army faster instead of going into town and healing up, etc. Right, so that's the skills, the perks, the attribute points, the different categories, a little bit basic. It's a little bit, it's not that self-explanatory everything here, to be honest. But there should be help in the Discord and on the forums, etc. Right, so what happens if you gain skills in these weapon skills? Well, for example, bows gives you, it doesn't give you speed, but it gives you damage. Whereas crossbow gives you speed, loading speed, but it doesn't give you extra damage, etc. So I think all the melee weapons give you speed and damage. I'm not sure. There is some rumors or tables going around exactly how this works, but if it's from the vanilla game, if the devs changed it, no one knows. And if you're interested, we do have a text file on our text Discord channel for Mountain Blade in Cell Sorts of Calradia, my clan. So feel free to contact me in game on Discord or here on Twitch and YouTube, and I'll be happy to share all that information with you. So I think that's about it for skills and perks and categories. Okay, so let's say you created your first character, you're in Zionica, you pop into the tavern, and in the tavern, because it's an introduction video, there will be an NPC in the corner called Godric. Is that he has 2 or 3 starter quests. First, he wants you to do some farming, and farming works like this. Let's walk down here to Tashiba, the village. You basically exit Zionica and you run up to Zeocoris here. And once you get there, you enter the village and you talk to the village elder, which is the village chief, and he gives you a job. This is not very well paid, but I think you have to do this to gain a couple of 100 gold just to start your first starter equipment, which is the second quest in the starter quest line. Go to village. To farm, we talk to this village elder. I'm looking for work. He tells you that hilling, planting, watering and harvesting gives a certain amount of money. This is each time you water a plant, each time you harvest a plant, each time you plant, you get this amount of money. The only thing that is important here is that the money you only get once you go to the village elder and report to him, this is how much work I've done, I want the cash, thank you. If you leave the village before that, you will lose all your work done. And what you do is you pick up these tools here, the tiller and the seeds. It's quite a common question. Where are the seeds? The seeds are on this wagon here. And the water you fetch in the river down by there. And you have to do all these 4 moments, these steps, and then you turn in the grain into this shed. And then you go to the village elder, you ask him to be paid. And if you have other players messing around with your own farming, it's not a problem. They will get paid for their individual steps. So if they water a plant, you won't get paid for that. They will. But you will get the money you've done on that specific plant once it's turned in here. So cooperation with farming, I'd say either it's the same or it's actually a little bit better to cooperate. At least you'll get all the plants in harvest them, and you can ask for the cash. So don't worry if someone else is helping you out. That might be a good thing actually. You also gain a little bit of skills, like one-handed for using the harvester and athletics, which is running around. So it's a little bit of skill leveling up to be gained from harvesting. It's not the best way to make early game money though, because that is woodcutting. But I just wanted to explain how this works, because many new players will be confused with how do I do farming in the game. And now we all know that. There is a separate farming video on YouTube that you might watch that is shorter than this, I believe. If you want to do woodcutting, you would just go to one of these villages, Alsasos being the prime example, with a wood symbol instead of the grain symbol here. So from Zionica, where you start, you just move a bit over to the west to Alsasos. You go in here, you grab an axe, and you chop the trees that are marked with a white X on them. You pick up to 3 stacks of wood, you turn it in, then you return to the village elder and you ask him to be paid. I suppose you should not leave the village until you ask to be paid, because you might lose your work in progress and your salary if you do. I'm not sure about that in the wood village, but I wouldn't be surprised if you lose the salary that you are owed by the village elder. And once you have a bit of starter cash, you return to Zionica and you go to the different merchants and you buy a little bit of gear. So let's discuss gear, inventory, and etc. One prime beginner mistake is the civilian outfit compared to the battle outfit. New players will equip weapons in the civilian outfit, and this is the gear that you can see you're wearing inside a town when you're not able to fight, whereas the battle outfit is when you fight NPCs. So here's where you want your weapons that you use to fight enemies, and in the civilian outfit is how you want to look cool inside town. And on the right side you can see all your items, you can see how much they weigh. This scroll up here you press if you have ordered a Patreon code against real world money, so you gain items. You press this scroll. I currently carry 112 out of 244 weight. If I go above this, I will be severely limited in my speed. I think it goes down to 0.5 speed. And the speed you can see down here, I have a base of 2.21. That is based off the number of soldiers in my army. The more soldiers I have in my army, the slower my army is gonna get. I also have a clan bonus. That's the only way to decrease and increase your speed of your army on the map in the game. It doesn't matter if you have more horses in your army. It doesn't matter if you carry 1 or 243. It used to be light and heavy load. That is removed from the mod as it is now. So up to 243 I can move at 2.3 speed. The only way to make myself faster would be to remove certain amount of soldiers from my army. So that's speed, scouting, well, daily wages. You can, if you start hiring soldiers, they will cost upkeep money. And if I take a recruit, right click on the recruit's picture here, not left, right click, I can see and hover here, I can see he costs 5 cash each day. And what is a day? Well, now it's morning, autumn 13th, 11:20, and every 1 hour real world time is 24 hours in game. And in the morning you will pay the daily party wage. So you will need to balance this party wage with your income capability. I mean, you could get very expensive troops, but if you don't use them, you're gonna lose money for just having a very expensive army. You can also use settlement services and deposit troop management and deposit troops into a town up to the same amount, which is your current troop limit. So for example, I have 90 as a maximum troop limit. That means I could put 90 troops into one city of my choice, only one. And then I have to pull them out of there and move them to another city if I want to. If I do, I pay half the wages of them. So that's a good way to save some upkeep money. If you have expensive troops that you don't want to use at the moment, you can put them into a town and keep them in the barracks there or whatever. So our starting character has now done some woodcutting, he's done some farming. He enters the town by pressing town surroundings. Inside the town you can press the Alt button, and if you do, you will get all these important NPC vendors, their names. So the owner of the stable sells horses and saddles. The guard commander allows you to get quests to sell troops and chase bandit leaders. So he's like one of the quest NPCs in the game, one of the few ones. But here are all the different traders. So the trader has furnitures and quest books. The armor master has armor. The weaponsmith has weapons. The decorator has colors and for clan banners. The seneschal allows you to buy a license, so you also can sell items at these traders. So you pay him money, and then for 20 days, real world days, you can sell items at all these different merchants here. Except the artisan, which is the trash merchant of the game. He buys your crap gear that you grind from looters. So with a little bit of starting money and the first quest, the quest log is for me it's said. Said. Well, I don't know what the default button is, but it's this scroll down here, quests. You can go in here and Godric will tell you to buy a helmet, an armor, and a weapon. And you have to fulfill that. And as you can see here in the armor master, what products are on the market, show all goods. Well, you can sort by type, by name, by number, and by price. And basically, a couple of these items will be default items that are always there, that are basic NPC items. Whereas the more expensive ones are like 10 million for a couple of shabby gloves. That is a player that has put them up for sale. So if you want to buy these gloves for 10 million, another player will be very, very happy. But anyway, that means there is a very well-functioning market economy in the mod, where people grind items, then put them out onto the market, so it's an auction house, and then they buy and sell from each other. And since you can lose items in both in PvE, I guess in PvP, if you lose an item, another player will pick up and own that weapon. So it's actually not a cash drain of the mod PvP. It's just a transfer of items. But if you lose to NPCs, there's a 5% chance that you lose 1 to 3 items. So items will disappear. There is no durability, but there is a sort of durability. You can never lose items you have equipped in your civilian outfit, even if you fight. So all these items here will always be with me. But what you have in your inventory and what you have on your battle outfit, you can lose in combat if you lose that combat. And once you have talked to God, have equipped yourself with the basic equipment that Godric wants you to do, he will ask you to attack a bandit hideout. And on the quest description, it will say whether that whether that bandit hideout is northeast of Zionica, should be up here around the mountains, or west of Zionica, I can't remember, it should be around Alsace over here somewhere. You go there and you fight along with Godric and a couple of soldiers. I think you need to recruit soldiers yourself. So how do you recruit soldiers? Okay, this is how you do this. You enter town. Let's say you're alone, you have no soldiers. You walk up to a group of recruits. You press F and you hire 1, 2, or 3 of them, and they cost 80 gold each. And obviously more advanced soldiers cost more money. But I would, as a new player, I would recommend you to only hire recruits. And once they get experience, you can level them up. For example, out of my 18 Imperial trained infantrymen, I could level up 12 of them because they have enough experience for that. And I could choose to make them veteran infantrymen, or I could choose to make them Menavli Aton troops. It would cost the same, 629 gold, and then they become tier 4 instead of tier 3, and they become better, they have better armor, better gear. Let's examine the Imperial troops. They start out as recruits, and then either they become ranged troops or they become melee fighters, and then they become So once you play, you can go in here, you can check all these stats: riding, polearm, athletics. You can check out their equipment by hovering over their weapons and armor, yada yada. I guess you can add them to. I'm not, I'm not super interested in how good troops are, what they cost. So I have a pretty basic grasp of troops. There is huge controversy regarding what cultures troops are the best, or meta, or overpowered. Or the interesting thing is that if I fight these Imperial trained infantrymen, they have a chance of dropping javelins, reinforced flat kite shields, and spada with narrow fallet. The weapons these troops own, that's what can drop as fairly good loot in combat, which is interesting. So if you, for example, want a specific, I don't know, spear or bow or sword, you might want to fight troops from a certain culture just to get that item and sell it or keep it or use it or whatever. Returning to our new character in Zionica, once you have fought a bandit hideout, he's gonna give you some more cash, and he's gonna send you out on the world, and that's basically the tutorial, and that's all the tutorial there is in the game. That's why these tutorial videos that I'm making will be so useful for you to watch. But having completed that tutorial questline is important, because from now on I can enter into town or into the tavern, and I can trade with other players. I just walk up to them and I press F and hold F. There is no player inside the tavern now, but you would walk up them, you would press F, and now you can talk to them. And you can also be invited into a clan. If you have not done the tutorial questline, which should take about 10-15 minutes, to be honest. It's not a very complicated tutorial at all. So I suggest you do those. Okay, what else should we discuss here? Perks, skills, inventory, character. I think that's about it. Let me check my notes here. I'm not going to give you advice on what weapons, what armor, what horse to get, what saddle, because that's basically a decision of budget. I mean, you pay a lot of extra money in this game for quality, but it doesn't make that much of a difference. It's not World of Warcraft where you want rarity colors, where you start with green and blue and yellow and purple and gold and orange, whatever, or level up weapons. Basically, the most expensive armor or weapon in the game is gonna be a tiny bit more better than what you can buy for a very reasonable price. So I suggest don't focus too much on super expensive and get blinded by gear improvement, because it's not that big of a deal. For me, I would focus on skill improvement, because you're gonna get rich, you're gonna have more money than what you know what to do with in the long run, but you're still gonna get stuck and be annoyed at how slow your skill increase goes. But of course, the first couple of minutes, hours, days, and maybe even weeks, you're constantly gonna feel like, oh, I would love to have that item, etc. If that's what you want, I would suggest you join a beginner-friendly clan, like for example my own, Sellswords of Calradia, that is neutral, that doesn't fight other clans, that allows you to gain both extra experience points, but also you can loan items or even cash money from other members and purchase things, and you can repay them and give back the items once you tested them out. And also there's a lot of medium difficulty rarity cost items available just to pick up for free in the clan treasury, because for endgame players it's not worth that much, but for you maybe when starting out it could be worth it. Obviously a lot of other clans will have that same bonuses or services to their newer members. You can ask around which clan is the most generous one out there. I couldn't tell you about that. Alright, so we today have talked about skills, perks, attribute points, leveling, We have talked about troops a little bit. I might make a separate tutorial about troops and leveling them, etc. We talked about inventory, about civilian outfit, about battle outfit. We talked about woodcutting. We talked about farming. We talked about the tutorial quest. And if you watch this another time, I think you'll be able to play Mount and Blade Bannerlord Online, do the tutorial and get yourself started with a basic understanding of the game and trading and all that. And if there are any questions, feel free to contact me on Discord, in-game, or well, write a comment here on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.